Houston, we've had a problem. Those words echoed through history, calm, clear, and filled with the quiet terror of men stranded in the endless dark. In that moment, 3 astronauts were no longer explorers. They were survivors. And humanity was about to face its most dangerous test beyond Earth. Apollo 13, the longest journey home. It was April 11, 1970. The launch pad at Kennedy Space Center shimmered under the Florida sun. The massive Saturn V rocket towered above everything, a 111-meter-tall monument of human ambition and precision engineering. Inside the command module Odyssey, 3 astronauts, James A. Lovell, John L. Jack Swigert, and Fred W. Hayes, prepared for what was meant to be NASA's 3rd moon landing mission. None of them could have imagined that within days, their mission would turn into a desperate fight for survival, a story that would redefine courage, teamwork, and the limits of human endurance. Houston, this is Odyssey. We're ready for liftoff. Lovell's calm voice carried over the radio. Copy that, Odyssey. Your go for launch. The engines ignited. A thunderous roar engulfed the Cape as Saturn V's 5 F1 engines came to life, producing over 7.5 million pounds of thrust. The Earth trembled beneath them as the rocket rose, slowly at first, then with growing power, piercing through the clouds. Inside, the crew felt the intense vibration and G-forces press them into their seats. Then, as they reached orbit, everything went still. Silence. Weightlessness. The vibration gave way to the eerie calm of space. Stage separation confirmed, Swigert said, glancing at the instrument panel. Lovell floated up slightly, looking through the window. It never gets old, does it? Seeing the Earth shrink below you. Hayes smiled. She looks peaceful from up here. For the first 2 days, everything went perfectly. The crew executed maneuvers with surgical precision. They performed TV broadcasts, showing viewers back home their zero-gravity routine, floating food packets, and giving a cheerful tour of their spacecraft. The world, distracted by Vietnam and other troubles, barely noticed. Then came April 13, 1970. It was 55 hours into the mission. The ship was more than 320,000 kilometers from Earth, closer to the moon than home. Houston, this is Odyssey. We'd like you to stir up the cryo tanks. It was a routine request from Mission Control. The oxygen tanks needed to be stirred periodically to prevent the contents from stratifying. Swigert flipped the switch. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then, a sharp bang echoed through the spacecraft. The cabin shuddered violently. Warning lights flashed red across the control panels. Alarms blared in their headsets. The crew looked at each other, wide-eyed. What the hell was that? Swigert shouted. Hayes's hand gripped the edge of his console. It felt like we got hit by something. Lovell scanned the instruments. The oxygen pressure gauge was dropping, fast. Houston, we've had a problem. Swigert reported. This is Houston. Say again, please. Lovell took over, his voice steady but urgent. Houston, we've had a problem here. In Mission Control, Flight Director Gene Kranz turned toward the telemetry screens. The data stream from Odyssey looked chaotic: voltage drops, pressure failures, temperature spikes. Flight, we're losing O2 Tank 2, called out the ecom officer. Kranz's jaw tightened. Okay, let's not make things worse by guessing. Work the problem, people. Within minutes, it became clear: one of the oxygen tanks had exploded. The blast damaged the service module's power system and ruptured fuel cells. Without oxygen, there would be no electricity. And without power, the command module couldn't sustain life. Lovell turned to his crew. We're venting something out into space. He peered through the window. A stream of white gas was spiraling away, their precious oxygen. That's O2 leaking out. They all knew what it meant. The moon landing was over. Now, the only goal was survival. Inside Mission Control, the tension was unbearable. Engineers were running simulations, shouting updates. We're looking at total fuel cell failure. Command module powers dropping to 0. Life support's good for maybe 3 hours. Krantz slammed his headset onto the console. Okay. We're not going to lose these men. Let's figure out how to get them home. The only way was to move the crew into the lunar module, Aquarius. It was designed for just 2 astronauts for 2 days. Now, it had to support 3 men for at least 4. Lovell, Swigert, and Hayes scrambled through the narrow tunnel connecting the modules. The lunar module came alive, lights flickering, air filters buzzing. It was cramped, freezing, and chaotic, but it was their lifeboat. Houston, Aquarius is powered up. Odyssey is cold and dark. Krantz's voice came through. Copy that, Aquarius. You're looking good. We're working on a return trajectory. But the situation was deteriorating. With the service module crippled, they couldn't make a direct return. The only option was a slingshot maneuver around the moon, using its gravity to swing them back toward Earth. It meant traveling even farther from home before turning back. Lovell, once destined to walk on the lunar surface, now stared silently at the gray sphere as it drifted past the window. So close, he murmured. We were almost there. Hayes, suffering from chills and dehydration, forced a smile. At least we get the best view in the universe. Lovell nodded. Yeah. Let's make sure we live to tell about it. Meanwhile, on Earth, the world's media erupted. NASA crew in grave danger, the headlines read. Families gathered around televisions, watching as Mission Control fought to save the astronauts. Engineers in Houston worked non-stop, over 400,000 people across NASA and its contractors improvising solutions for problems no one had ever planned for. One critical issue was carbon dioxide buildup. The air filters in the lunar module were designed for 2 people. Now, with 3 breathing inside a sealed environment, CO2 levels were climbing dangerously high. We're not going to make it if we don't fix this, Hayes said, coughing. Houston, CO2 is climbing past the limit. Down on Earth, engineers scrambled. They discovered the command module's filters were incompatible, square cartridges that didn't fit the lunar module's round ports. We've got to make a square peg fit in a round hole, one engineer said grimly. Using only materials the astronauts had on board, duct tape, plastic bags, and cardboard from flight manuals, they devised an improvised adapter. The instructions were radioed up. Lovell and Swigert assembled the strange contraption by hand, floating in dim light. Moments later, the CO2 readings began to drop. Cheers erupted in Mission Control. It works. Hours turned into days. The crew was freezing. Temperatures dropped near freezing inside Aquarius. Condensation formed on the walls, their breath fogged in front of them. They rationed water to mere sips, surviving on 200 calories a day. Sleep came in short, restless bursts. How's Hayes? Lovell asked softly. Swigert looked over. Fever's up. He's hanging in there. Hayes smiled weakly. Don't write me off yet, Skipper. Despite everything, their morale held. They talked about home, about food, about their families. Lovell, the veteran commander, remained composed, his calm voice a steady beacon for both his crew and Mission Control. As they neared Earth, one final challenge loomed: re-entry. The damaged heat shield might not hold. The guidance systems, powered down to save energy, would need to be reactivated with perfect timing. If their angle was too shallow, they'd skip off the atmosphere. Too steep, and they'd burn up. Odyssey, this is Houston. We're go for re-entry. Lovell took a deep breath. See you on the other side, Houston. The capsule hit the atmosphere at 11 kilometers per second. Plasma surrounded the ship, cutting off all radio contact. For 4 minutes, the world waited in silence. Then, through the static. Odyssey, Houston, do you read? Nothing. Another minute passed. Families held hands. Reporters whispered. Finally. Houston, this is Odyssey. It's good to be home. The room exploded in cheers. Engineers hugged. Some cried. The capsule splashed down safely in the Pacific Ocean, retrieved by the USS Iwo Jima. The 3 astronauts emerged pale, exhausted, but alive. Apollo 13 was later called a successful failure. It never reached the moon, but it achieved something greater, proving that human ingenuity, courage, and unity can overcome even the most impossible odds. Gene Kranz would later say, failure is not an option. For Lovell, Hayes, and Swigert, those words weren't just a slogan. They were the reason they survived. In the cold silence of space, when hope seemed lost, humanity found its greatest triumph, not in reaching the moon, but in finding a way home.